Hi everyone, it's Tatyana from Tatyana's Everyday Food, and today I wanted to share with you guys a very special Russian and Eastern European cake called Medovik. And this honey cake has been requested on my cooking channel so many times, so I'm really happy I finally have a chance to share it with you guys. This 8-layer cake filled with custard filling is absolutely delicious. It's like the perfect thing to serve after dinner with tea or some champagne. It's absolutely delicious. So I tried to simplify this recipe as much as I could so you guys can duplicate it with ease at home. Today I'm starting my recipe off by making the custard cream first. This is just because it just needs to stand in the refrigerator for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. It needs to cool completely so that it's more manageable for assembling our cake. In a large bowl, I'm going to combine 3/4 cup of white granulated sugar. I'm going to add 4 large egg yolks. And then we're also going to add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. I'm going to give this a quick stir and then we're going to set it aside. For my next step, I'm going to add 3 cups of milk, and today I'm using whole milk. I'm going to pour it into a large saucepan, and I'm going to add 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour. I'm going to whisk this all together until I don't have any clumps. So I'm stirring my milk constantly because I don't want it to burn. And this cooks for about 5 to 7 minutes. You don't want the milk to start boiling. You just want it to be hot, and you want that flour to start cooking and thickening the milk. I'm going to bring back my hot milk to my egg mixture, and we're going to add it in slowly. So we're going to add just a little bit in at a time, and we're going to whisk it after each addition. Once we've incorporated all that hot milk into our egg yolk mixture, we're going to pour everything back into the saucepan. We're going to take this back to the stovetop, and we're going to continue cooking and stirring it over medium heat until that custard thickens. So it's going to take about another 7 to 8 minutes. And now we're ready to add our butter. So I have 1 cup of butter. I'm just going to add it right into the custard. And you want to do this while it's still hot. I'm going to take my whisk and just mix it until that butter is completely melted. My butter is completely melted now. I'm going to take a lid, I'm going to cover my bowl, and I'm going to set this into the refrigerator. It needs to cool completely. And I stir the custard every 10-15 minutes so that it cools uniformly. Now that our custard is chilling in the refrigerator, we could start on our honey cake layers. Today we're going to make a total of 8 layers, but don't let that number intimidate you. I'm going to break down the recipe for you guys, and you'll see just how easy it is to make these, and the time is going to go by really fast. And now for our cake. The first step is making our honey base. Also at the same time, I have my oven preheated to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's important to have that ready. So our first step, I'm going to add 3/4 cup of melted butter into a small saucepan. I have 1/2 cup of honey. I like to use lots of honey because it adds a lot of authentic flavor to this recipe. I have 1/2 cup of white granulated sugar. Just give that a quick stir. And we're also going to add 4 large eggs. I have 1 tablespoon of white vinegar in this small bowl, and to it I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And just stir it and let it react. I'm going to add this straight into my sugar and egg mixture. Make sure you get everything out of there. So I'm cooking my honey mixture over medium heat on the stovetop. It takes about 7 to 10 minutes, and I'm stirring it constantly so the bottom of the pan doesn't burn. And it's going to foam up like this. It's going to double up in size. It's going to turn into a nice dark caramelized color. Once our mixture has cooled a little bit and the foam has settled down, just pour everything into a large bowl. And now we can start adding our flour. So I have 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm going to add a little bit at a time. And I like to add less flour first. So with 2.5 cups, it's going to make a soft but sticky dough. And then I have another 1/4 cup measured out that I'll add as needed. Really work that flour into the dough after each addition. Now I'm going to turn my dough out onto my work surface. At this point, it's still pretty warm, so you want to be careful not to burn yourself. Just scrape out any excess flour that's left in the bowl. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of my flour over the top, and you just want to work everything together into a nice soft dough. And now we're ready to section the dough. So I formed a nice uniform ball. I'm just going to cut it in half first. And then I'm going gonna shape another ball again. So we're gonna do this until we have 8 pieces total. Today I'm going to be using 2 8-inch cake pans, and I've lined them with parchment paper to ensure that the cakes fall right out of the pan. We're going to go from this to this. So we're going to press the dough evenly across the bottom of the cake pan. You just want to use your hands, and it's going to be a fairly thin cake layer, and just spread it evenly all the way to the edges. At 400 degrees Fahrenheit, our cakes are going to bake very fast. In about 5 to 7 minutes, they're going to be golden brown on the top. You want to take them out, and you want to do the exact same thing for the remaining 6 pieces. And now we have everything ready to assemble our cake. So I have my custard and it's all set up now. It's really thickened and it's gonna make assembling our cake super easy. And I have all my cake layers ready. So what I did is I placed a couple sheets of parchment paper around the edges to make the cleanup process super easy. Now I've placed my first cake layer onto my cake stand. And for this recipe, we wanna be very generous with our cream filling. So we're gonna add a nice amount there on the top. I'm going to take a long spatula and just spread it evenly to the edges. And for my last cake layer, I'm going to top it again with a generous amount of frosting, and then just use my spatula to spread it over the top evenly, and then also coat the sides. After the first coat of custard cream on the outside of the cake, I'm going to place the cake into the refrigerator and just let it chill in there for like 20-30 minutes. The outer layer is going to start to set up, and then we'll take it out. We'll put a second custard coat on the top, and we're going to add a crumb coat. So I'm not really good at crumb coating cake, so bear with me, and I'll try to show you a couple tricks that I know that might help you out. So now I'm going to add my second layer of custard filling over the top and over the sides. And this is going to help our cookie crumbs stick to the cake a little bit better. And now for our cookie crumbs. So I have about 1 cup of cookie crumbs, and what I did for these was I just purchased some Biscoff coffee cookies, and I put them into a food processor, and I just grinded them down until they resembled fine crumbs. But you can really use any cookies. I prefer these because they have a nice dark color. We're going to take them and just sprinkle them over the top first. And you could take a little pastry brush and kind of brush very, very gently across the top just to even everything out. And then for the sides, what I do is I just take a spoonful of the cookie crumbs and kind of brush them up against with my pastry brush, just like this. And then you can just collect them and go around the cake like this. So you don't need a lot of cookie crumbs. Just rotate your cake as you go. And now for cleaning up our cake, just take your pastry brush and brush off any excess down on the sides, and then you can just collect them back into your bowl. Once you're done with the cookie crumbs, you could take out the parchment paper. And this makes cleanup super easy. You don't have anything left on the cake platter except a couple of cookie crumbs, which you can sweep right off. Once you have your cake all assembled, just put it in the refrigerator and let it stand overnight, or at least for 12 hours. You really want that custard cream to soak into those honey cake layers to have a really moist and really delicious cake. And I actually made a second cake just for you guys so we could take some photos and eat it for you on the camera. I'm gonna just put my fork right through that cake, and when it's set and when it's moist, that fork is gonna slip right through your cake layers. This cake is absolutely delicious. I just love the combination of that custard cream and the honey cake layers. It just melts in your mouth when you take a bite of it. Absolutely delicious, like perfect with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee after dinner. This cake is absolutely delicious. Well, once you try this cake at home for yourself, you'll see just why it's so popular in Russia and Eastern Europe. It's an absolutely delicious cake recipe. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video recipe. I've tried to simplify it as best as I could so you guys can duplicate this cake at home and make it for your family and friends. If you do make it, make sure to share it with me on Instagram and Facebook, and I would love it if you would subscribe to my video channel. You'll get updates every time I post new videos.